In a myriad of tattoo studios in Brighton, the unique Brighton Tattoo Museum is a cultural gem showcasing global artifacts, prints and pictures from all over the world. A unique collection that appeals to both tattoo enthusiasts and curious visitors. Each artifact and print tells a unique story, unveiling artistry, symbolism and personal expression. Join me as I speak with the owner and tattooist of Brighton Tattoo Museum, Fade Meraki, delving into her expertise and passion.
My name's Fade Meraki and I'm the curator of Brighton Tattoo Museum.
So Brighton Tattoo Museum is the only tattoo museum in Brighton. And how did you come up with the idea and how come it's the only one in Brighton?
So Brighton Tattoo Museum is the only tattoo studio in Brighton that's also a tattoo museum. The nearest other tattoo museum is actually in Manchester, and there's also one in Marseille, France. So this is really unique, and I think that Brighton's the best place for doing this because it's got such a rich scene of like arts and culture, and I think that this is just the right place for this kind of tattoo studio to run. So I've been studying tattoo anthropology for more than 15 years. I've spent a lot of time with remote indigenous tribes in places like Borneo, West Sumatra, Easter Island, Tahiti, and I've spent a lot of time trying to document as much tattoo history as I can because we're actually at a situation, it's like our shared human history, and we could lose this. So a lot of tribes, they stopped tattooing in colonial times. There's been a lot of influence from the outside world, changes in religion, how society perceives tattooing. It became quite taboo. But for a lot of people, these are their ancestral markings that date back millennia. So this is like a big passion project for me. I started writing a book and tattoo magazine articles and creating my own documentaries and collecting artifacts from all around the world. So I wanted to create this platform to be able to make my anthropology work open to the public and also invite international guest speakers so that it's not just my voice here, but people can tell their own story about their own history. So in Brighton Tattoo Museum, we actually have a 360 tour already online and a catalogue of all of our items, but people can come into the studio and we have an NFC and a QR code. People can scan in, open the catalogue on their phone and walk themselves around the items. They're all numbered and there's information about each collection. So at the moment, the collection that I'm featuring is tattoo tools from all around the world. So the original hand tapping, hand poking tools. So a lot of people, they didn't use tattoo machines back then. It's like a plant-based kit. They even make the inks themselves. And different cultures approach this differently. So in Thailand, you see Thai monks doing sakyan tattooing, where they have like a really long stick and they guide it, rested on their index finger. And they actually tattoo prayer onto people, and it's done with a lot of blessings. And there's a lot of meaning behind this, whereas in Borneo they use two sticks, one with a needle tied to the end, and it's kind of like drumming or riding a snare is probably the nearest thing I could describe this technique to. And in Mentawai, the shaman that tattoo, they use a totally different stick that's curved on the end. They hold it different. The patterns are different. The designs are different. So in my collection, I have an antique stencil that was Sailor Jerry's. So it's an acetate stencil. These days we use paper stencils. We have thermal copiers that print carbon, so we can create our stencils that way. But in the past, they'd use a piece of acetate that's been engraved and they'd rub the carbon into it and print that, which is why a lot of people back in the day had the same tattoo and you just pick that one off the wall because, it was like having a menu. That was the swordfish. And I've spent a lot of time with the godmother of tattooing, Shanghai Kate. She's known as the godmother of tattooing USA. So she's quite a big name in America. And I was really fortunate to be able to interview her for tattoo magazines. And she actually kind of like adopted me. She just took me in with her arms wide open, and I've stayed at her home and worked in her studio. And I sorted through a lot of artifacts with her. And she gifted me the Sailor Jerry stencil because she was actually his apprentice. They worked together for 8 years in Hawaii, and his tattoo machine, I've been tattooed with it as well. It was engraved for Kate and left for her. So it's a big honour to have that and to be able to tell people the stories. And especially now because she sadly passed away last year in November. So it's even more important that I show people, you know, Sailor Jerry's work and who Shanghai Kate was. Yeah, so there's tattoo history all around the world. A lot of people think that tattoo history came from the Maori tribe. I think that they're probably the most known tattoo tribe, which is why people think this. And of course, their tattoo history goes back millennia, and their patterns are really beautiful, really famous for the swelled lines and delicate details. But we have tattoo history everywhere. This is our shared human history. And actually, in England, we had tattooed tribes. So before the Romans came, there was a lot of tattooed tribes here, but they were killed with the invasion of the Romans, and there was documented evidence about this. The Romans talked about how much they feared the Pict tribe. They didn't want to fight them. And actually, Pict means painted, and they would also paint their bodies blue as they went into battle, and they were supposed to be really fierce. The tattoos I have are mostly aesthetic. I really like geometric dot work, very much like this is the style of tattooing that I do. But you can see on my throat, I have this small design. I wanted it to be like a piece of jewellery. I do a lot of sport, so I have to always take off my jewellery, and I wanted something I can always just wear.
Is there such a thing as too many tattoos?
No. I think the more tattoos you get, the more you just look at the clean skin as gaps or space. Yeah, I don't think you can have too many.
What are you going to do when you're going to run out of skin then?
Well, yeah, I hope I don't run out of skin. I think I've already designed like 5 or 6 bodysuits for myself in my head, but of course you can only get one. So I'm trying to pace myself. I already have my arms full, but my torso, my back, my legs are mostly empty. So yeah, trying to sort of pace myself. I get like 1 or 2 a year, and it's really enjoyable process.
Indeed. So when you see a guy with no tattoo, you just see blank canvas.
Yeah, people with no tattoos just look like a blank canvas, definitely.
This is Will Ranieri for latest TV News.